Well, hello and thank you for joining me for another Alex on Tech and ITY TV interview. Today I'm joined by Suvajit Gupta. He's the Executive Vice President of Engineering at Appian. Welcome to the program.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking the time. Now, Suvajit, I've spoken to Matt Culkins, the CEO and one of the founders of Appian, a couple of times over the past couple of years, and most recently with Luke Thomas, Appian's Vice President, Area Vice President, APAC. And I'll link to those articles and videos in the article that contains this video. But just in case anyone needs a refresher, can you please remind us of Appian's products, services, and capabilities as we're recording well into the second half of 2022?
Absolutely. So first of all, I've been at Appian for about 10 years, and I've seen our capabilities grow considerably. We are a low-code automation platform with everything from process mining to robotic process automation to intelligent document processing, as well as process documentation, all of that in one unified platform. And for the last few years, we've also been selling solutions that are vertical products that you can then install, configure, and bring to functionality very quickly.
Now, these days, there's more talk about low code than ever from all over the market. So why does it remain so important? And what advances in low code has Appian been delivering in its products and platform this year that we should know about?
Well, the big advantage of low code is that you're not actually coding. I sometimes wonder about the word code in there because in Appian, there is no code that's generated. This is a question we often get. It's all model driven. So we configure the intentions that you have inside of Appian, and then we interpret that at runtime. So that's one of the biggest advantages. You're operating at a much higher level of abstraction, and you're telling us what is it that you're trying to do, often drawing your process, double clicking and building out your interface. And so you're never falling down to the lowest level bits and bytes. And that solves many problems. First of all, you don't need to be as technical. Secondly, the ramp up to learn how to use Appian is much shorter. I have a master's in computer science, and it took me 6 years of schooling to, qualify as a developer. Yeah. Whereas in Appian, it takes a couple of weeks, right? So that's really the transformation. You're not going down to the technical details. You're operating at a much higher level of abstraction.
Yeah, many younger people were probably never familiar with WordStar, where you had to use, it's a bit like Markdown. I mean, younger people would be familiar with that. You have to put all these different, things in front of and after words to make things bold or to have them in italics or to do other things. And then we had the desktop revolution with what you see is what you get. You had fonts and, exactly as you designed it on the screen was exactly how it would print out. And that is a kind of a rough analogy for the old-fashioned ways of programming, I guess you call it Highcode, to the low-code way that it's done today, which is so much more sophisticated and mature.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it.
So what are the trends in the low-code market today more broadly?
So I see a number of trends. First of all, there's a lot of consolidation happening. Some companies have started, say, in the process mining space. Other ones have started, say, in robotic process automation. Some, like us, have come from a business process modeling or BPM heritage. Some from even content management. So they're all converging on this revolution where in one unified platform, you're able to build the applications that our customers are looking for quickly with low code, with people that don't have deep technical backgrounds. So I think that's really the transformation I'm seeing, that these pieces are coming together into a unified suite where you can imagine, build, and deploy business applications that run your enterprise.
So now that the pandemic finally seems to be receding, we seem to be in an era where there's a bit of financial flux globally and there's more competition for talent than ever. So what is the state of the developer market? Is there enough talent available to satisfy that demand?
Oh, absolutely not. So that didn't even need the pandemic. Well before that, you heard the phrase that every company is a software company.
Yeah.
And they are writing so much software that it's not even funny. It is just not possible for people with a technical background to fill all the open spots that they're looking for. So this was a problem well before the pandemic. And that's where I think the origins of low code came. That, right before the pandemic, I heard stats like 25% of applications were built with low code. And in a few years, that number is projected to be at 70%. So when 7 out of 10 applications are built by low code, that partly answers the question. There's just not enough high code people out there. The second thing, as I said, since every company is a software company, if you're a bank, if you're a pharmaceutical company, if you're an airport, a transportation company, the other problem is that developers often don't want to work at a place that's not a software company. Mm-hmm. So good luck trying to find that talent that's already in demand and probably won't want to join your company. So that's where I think low code is a big enabler. You're able to take IT people, able to take anyone who's willing to learn. We have a program called Lowcode for All now, where we're actually helping people that are transitioning in their career. They want to do something new and continue to make business impacts. Lowcode is basically going to enable them to join the modern workforce and help build all these applications, right? And so when most of the applications are written with low code, that is the transformation that I think Appian and other low code vendors are creating opportunities in the world.
So, what can the industry do to attract and, more importantly, to retain developer talent? And could a developer talent shortage impact on, local transformation projects? Which I'm assuming the answer is going to be yes.
Yeah, so a number of things. First of all, we're trying to catch them young. So we have programs to teach people about low code in, say, the third year of college. And as they graduate, they come with the certifications and the credentials. And a lot of our partners are lining up to hire those people because they can quickly put them on projects and start delivering value. So that's one thing that we're empowering. We're also encouraging, we have in our Low Code for All program, we're actually paying for your certifications. There's such a dearth of low code talent right now that we want to help people not only graduate with the credentials, but come into it from other professions. A lot of engineers, you might be a civil engineer waiting for the next bridge building project that may not get funded, become a low code developer, right? Because people that can solve hard problems can learn low code and build great applications for our customers. I think the other thing is you talked about retention. I think that when you're writing code nowadays, and I'm a developer, I coded for the first half of my career and I got promoted, got into management and leadership. I find it still very hard to do high code. The time it takes to get the build up, to get all the pieces together that you can do even something simple has just grown, right? With service-oriented architectures, with cloud technologies, it is more powerful, but it's also more intimidating. Whereas with low code, because everything is in the platform, I can go in there in a 1 hour session, come up with an idea, do it, and then ship it. And that's very gratifying. A lot of people that got into software, came because they wanted to take an idea into production, not to wrestle with the build and turn CI, from red to green. So much of our time goes to everything except coding. And that has caused a lot of frustration. I believe low code is going to enable us to get back, rediscover the joy of building apps.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, as we record, the federal government in Australia is holding a Jobs and Skills Summit, and they were talking about 180,000 places in the local TAFE, which is a type of higher education. And reskilling is hugely important, and low code is one area, as you're describing. It's that people really should be investigating because they also talk about coding and security and all these tech things. Well, this is one tech thing that can be embraced by just about anybody.
No, absolutely. I just came from a recent trip to India earlier this year, and that's where a lot of our GSIs are based out of. And they're all hiring literally thousands, if not tens of thousands of low code developers. And the challenge that they face is how do they bring them up to speed quickly? And that goes back to something that Matt Calkins, my boss, has been very consistent about. He talks about something called inverse Moore's law. So you've heard about Moore's law, which says that every 18 months transistor density doubles. Now, what does that mean in English? That means that we can put a supercomputer into your pocket. It's called a smartphone now. And it used to be the size of this room, and now it fits in your pocket. We're doing that with software. So every year, we've had this perpetual goal that we're going to cut in half the time it takes to build an Appian app every 2 years, right? And that allows our implementations to go much more quickly. It allows our customers with the same budget and time frame to build lots more apps to power their digital transformations. And so that's where I think the excitement from my standpoint is I'm seeing customers that used to just operationalize their business on low-code platforms like Appian. They're beginning to innovate. They're actually taking ideas that would otherwise die because somebody would take too long to come up with requirements, or somebody would say the IT can't start for another year. Well, you can just do it. I think low-code has reached the point now that the singularity is that I tell people you can actually build an app in Appian faster than arguing about it. And so finally, after being in this business for over 30 years, I feel that IT can keep up with the speed of business.
Yeah. Grace Hopper was one of the fundamental people behind computing, and she was famous for having the viewpoint that it is better to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. And here's a great example where you can say, sorry, but I've already made the app.
Yes, exactly.
Now, you mentioned digital transformation, and I did ask before about, this shortage affecting local transformation projects. So what else do you think is holding better digital transformation back? What don't companies and businesses know that they should?
Well, it is a challenging problem, right? There are legacy systems, there's a lack of talent, there's often unawareness that you can actually move so much faster. Low code, it depends on who you ask. We've done studies that show it's somewhere between 17 to 20 times faster than high code. And a lot of people don't know that. In fact, Appian has a program where we put our money where our mouth is. We tell you that in 8 weeks, for a fixed amount of money, we will give you an enterprise app. Now, in most places, that would be hard to believe. People think that in 8 weeks they're lucky if they get a requirements document, have a few bad meetings, and maybe you get some, the document out of that. We actually turn over an application. We'll make sure that we work with you quickly in a short order to understand your needs, design it, code it, ship it to you, and maybe turn over the keys with a couple of fixes, right? So they don't know that this is possible. In fact, several customers don't believe it until they see their first implementation. And then, it's about the agile transformation. We obviously are not going to transform your entire enterprise with your first app, but let's ship value. And then you build on that success iteratively. And that has a couple of advantages. You're getting the ROI sooner, and you're able to actually discover what you really want, right? A lot of times customers don't know what they want until they see it. And by keeping it in low code and agile transformation, you kind of work with it and then finally get the thing that you're looking for that you may not have known. So what else can we do to help transform that? Your question was, yeah, so why is it hard? So there's a lot of data silos. One of the other things that we've done in Appian is to make sure that we can just slip into your enterprise and not require a 2-year data migration of all of your enterprise data inside of Appian. We don't want you to start a multi-year web API based transformation with a ESB, right? Those are the things that delay the time to value. Our goal is to just slide into your enterprise. If you have external systems, we connect to them. If you have relational data, we'll ingest it. And then we can build apps, we can front end your apps, we can connect all of your apps, right? So I think it's about the flexibility. I think that's really the other thing that a lot of people don't understand, that they don't have to do it all in the first go. Just start anywhere and get value, and then, decide how to wield it.
Yeah, absolutely. Add on top of what you've started. Don't let perfection be the enemy of just getting going. So the next question I want to ask about is cybersecurity. It's obviously a hot topic. The pandemic saw, cyber attacks increase exponentially. So what does Appian do, or how does it keep its operations, its products, its services, and its customers secure?
So our platform has patented technology that allows us, when you build an interface in Appian, you don't have to worry about cross-site scripting and denial of service attacks. Those are already protected. You're working in a platform that has security built in. It isn't an afterthought. You don't write it and then get hacked and then pay attention to it. Everything you build in Appian is secure. So that's the first thing. So that's another advantage of using a low-code platform, because some of these things are really hard. You might be able to build interfaces, but are you a security engineer? Secondly, Appian has the highest level of certifications. Our customers are usually, giant corporations that really care about security, performance, scale. So we have worked over the last decade to get every single certification out there, from SOC 2 to HIPAA, PCI, FedRAMP, IL7. And so we keep working on these security initiatives. We have a growing security team that we tell our customers that you're paying us to worry about security, and you can just build the apps that you want. So that's another thing we can take off your hands.
So how do you see Lowcode and Appian itself evolving over the next couple of years?
So we've been doing a number of things to expand our portfolio. So when I joined, we used to be more of a process-based platform where you could build your BPM processes. And over the last decade, we certainly have become a full application platform. We bring to bear all the piece parts you need to build a business application, from content management to process to records, data to reporting, and everything in between. And over the last few years, we've added in some of the other missing pieces. Now, there are times that you need robots to be a part of that. We are taking advantage of artificial intelligence and machine learning. A lot of our customers do document processing, so we are now doing intelligent document processing using machine learning to automatically extract, classify, route all of the content that you're getting. So there are a number of these missing pieces. And lastly, we've added in the process mining side of this, which allows us to really get an X-ray of your enterprise. You see what's really going on. A lot of times our customers and our partners, they have thoughts, opinions, intuition about what might be the problem or the opportunity. When you intersect that with what you really find out by doing a mining analysis, right, it's really astounding, because sometimes they're surprised. They may not have known that there are even bigger opportunities. So this confluence of all these technologies in one unified suite, that's what I think has been the most exciting. Another area that we've been innovating in is just the synergy. It's not like we've bought a few companies and thrown them together and call it a suite.
Yeah.
We take great pains to make sure that every part of Appian plays well with each other. So some examples. Let's say Appian does integrate with external RPA technologies, and there are best of breed technologies for RPA for mining, and we work with all of them. We have partnerships, we work very well with them. However, imagine a bot that crashes. Appian is very good at taking over because we've been in this process of working with humans for tasks and approvals. And when a bot crashes, a human can come in, detect it, and fix it and actually retrain the bot. AI is getting smarter, but sometimes if there's really bad handwriting, our document processing may give up and crash, and then the human can fix it. And in each of these opportunities, the transitions between the external bot or AI not working back to the humans is completely seamless. And then when the human teaches the AI how to do that, it gets smarter, right? The human can go reprogram the bot. And so all of this just plays seamlessly together. So the synergy, I think, is the magical part that we're focusing on. We want these pieces to work together in a way to orchestrate your enterprise.
Yeah. Now, Suvajit, as we get towards the end of the interview, I always like to ask some questions about you. I wanted to start with, if you could please share a memory of your first computer.
Yeah, well, that'll date me, but back in 1985, I grew up in India and I went to IIT for my undergraduate studies. And in my first year, I took an introduction to computer science class. And I have to tell you, I was love at first sight. I just got hooked. At that time, our computers were in laboratories where you'd have to go sign up to get access for the evening. And I spent a large part of my undergraduate years, in there. And it was a good combination of doing a lot of coding myself, coupled with the courses that I was taking. And so by the time I graduated, I'd written a lot of software, sold some of it. And, 33 years later, it still floats my boat. I have to tell you that I love the profession where you can take your ideas from the whiteboard and type it into the keyboard and see it work. And that gratification is something that, still, gives me chills, because it's just nice to be able to make stuff work and see people get value from it. And so that'll be the story that got me into my profession and keeps me energized, all these years.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. And what is a short version of your history in the world of tech, after graduating? And, was it that first experience with computers that got you into engineering? I mean, what was the spark that said, oh, I want to do that?
Well, first of all, I like creating things. So from a young age, I like to build stuff. And I think that software is the ultimate clay, right? Yeah. You're kind of almost limited by your imagination. And so that's what kind of got me hooked. But as I started working, I got my master's in computer design, and that was my first job doing, CAD software. And I like, enterprise software because it's complicated, it's challenging, and it delivers a lot of value. So I spent most of my career in enterprise software companies. One of my claims to fame is that I've been in 3 companies that have gone public, and I'd like to say I'd had something to do with it. And so I've grown up in these fast-growing companies where not only were we building really exciting software for our customers, but I like being in an environment where we're growing. As recently as in the last couple of years, my team, during the time I've been here, has grown from 40 to over 700 people on 4 continents now. And it's just, it keeps us busy trying to learn how to manage at scale, to manage, through layers of the organization, while keeping a motivated workforce that's innovative and excited about what they're doing.
Yeah, and solving real-world customer problems.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, my second last question is, can you please share some of the best advice you received in life to help you get where you are today?
So maybe a couple of quotes. A long time ago, when I was, more junior manager, I was in a director position managing a team of about 15 people. And I remember going to the COO of the company, who was very successful, and asked him, what's your secret? And he thought for a minute. He said, Suvajit, I say what I'm going to do, and I do what I said. And I thought that sounded simple, but that was pretty wise. Very few people can call their shots and then deliver on them. And the way we run my department is like that. We actually plan annual goals. We specify the outcomes we'd like to accomplish. And then we, for the most part, make those outcomes. And the times that we don't, we have good excuses, like there were customer problems, or maybe during the great resignation, we lost a few key people. But most of the time, I like to really, make sure that the things that we're telling people, we deliver. That's one, maybe a couple of others. I spent a few years in the middle of my career being in a consultant role, and I was reminded about the 2 years and 1 mouth. I think it is good to listen and to make sure that you're appreciating, the challenges that your customers and partners are trying to tell you about. And so that's another thing I try to, keep in mind as I work with all the folks that we're engaging with. And lastly, I think another quote that sticks in my mind is that one of my early stage managers told me that we're all business managers. I thought I was a technology manager. And what that means for me is that we really need to worry about customer outcomes. We have to worry about profitability, and those things are intersecting with great technology. But it's not technology looking for a solution, right? We want to make sure that we are looking out for making the biggest impact.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is your final message to ITWire viewers and readers, and to your current and future customers and partners?
Low code for all. So if you aren't low coding, I'd recommend it. And I say this not just because I work at Appian. As I said before, if you're trying to transform your business, I can't recommend something better than low code, whether it's Appian or something else. I think that once people discover the fact that in days and weeks, you can actually get your great ideas to start working for you, you're going to get hooked. Like I got hooked with Highcode many years ago. Nowadays I still spend, most of my weekdays, I have meetings most of the day working with lots of people. I try to squeeze in a few hours at the end of the day to do some low coding myself. And that just re-energized me, because it's just fantastic to see, things that we want to do, you can actually make them happen. So if you haven't touched low code or haven't learned it, there's something to look into.
Absolutely. Well, Suvajit Gupta, Executive Vice President of Engineering at Appian, thank you very much for your time. I wish you the best of success in your travels in Australia and beyond when you get back home. And I do hope we can talk again in the future.
Thanks, Alex. Great talking to you.
Great to talk to you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.